Hello and welcome to the virtual Jewish Thought of the Week. This is Rabbi Dan Lewin speaking from Dallas, Texas. It's beautiful weather, so we decided to shoot outside tonight. Let's open with a question. Have you ever woken up one morning or had a flash of inspiration at some time that all of a sudden you felt like being a better person, taking on a new project, conquering the world, and you made all these resolutions, were inspired? And then somehow you either forgot about it, that emotion disappeared, and weeks later or a year later you look back and say, what was I thinking? Why don't I feel that anymore? It's just like a distant memory. That's the issue that we're going to be talking about today, the theme of channeled inspiration. And what we're going to do is explore this through the lens of a Kabbalistic, a mystical concept called the run and return of the soul. This week's Torah portion is called Acharei Mos, which speaks after the death of Aaron's two sons, Nadav and Avihu. And the verse says that when they came close to Hashem, when they came close to the Lord, and they died. So the question is, did they mess up? Did they sin? Or did they do something great? The Kabbalah speaks about this at length and explains the story based on a concept called Ratzah, which is the run of the soul, and Shuv, which is the return of the soul. And what it says is that Aaron's sons had this fierce, great quality of Ratzah, and they perfected that, but what they were lacking was the return. Let's bring this down more to our understanding and speak about these two ideas. There are two general types of people. One person says, I'm happy, I'm comfortable. The other person is always never happy, never satisfied, always wanting more. Question is, which is the recommended approach? The answer, it depends in which department. Torah teaches that the same virtue in the material department can be a curse in the spiritual department, and vice versa. How does this work? That someone who says, I'm comfortable, I'm happy with what I have, that's a blessing, that's an admirable quality. Who is rich? He who is satisfied with his lot. But that same feeling of satisfaction, when applied in the spiritual department, prevents one from growing. What's the reason? Why can't you say, well, if it's good to say I'm happy with what I have, what's wrong with saying I'm happy with who I am, I'm comfortable with who I am? One answer is that if you're not progressing, you're going to stagnate. So you always need to keep acquiring more knowledge to stay thirsty and so forth. The deeper answer is that this is an inherent quality of the soul. That the nature of the soul, it's not because I'm lacking, I need meaning in life, I need to grow. So if I get that, I'm comfortable. The soul is thirsty, the soul desires to progress because that's how the soul breathes. And when we feel comfortable, what that means is we've drowned out the voice of the soul, and the soul is suffocated. There's a famous image of the body-soul that's projected in the picture of a candle. The candle, the wick, is the body, the flame is the soul, and this flame is always flickering, moving higher, trying to leave the wick. But the body, the wick, is keeping that intact, pulling it down. And this isn't a struggle, the tension of life that everyone goes through. Now that desire of the soul to move forward, to progress, which is an inherent quality, has a name. That's called Ratzah, the run of the soul. And usually that just manifests in our life as some form of inspiration. The soul calls out, so we satisfy her. But with a great mystic, that run of the soul can have such an intense yearning that it feels like trapped in the body. And if developed properly through meditation and stimulated, that run can reach such an extent that the soul departs. And that's what happened in the story with Aaron's sons. They reached such a high level of the run of the soul that they ended up dying. If so, what's bad? I mean, they did what most people can't do. They got an extreme run of the soul. The answer is Judaism is life-oriented, life in this world. And even though that's an admirable quality, the goal is not just to have this inspiration, it's to channel that inspiration. Where? To channel it within the world. And that quality of leaving that nature of the soul, which is to move upwards, and to focus that power to accomplish something within the world, that's called shuv. So you have ratzoi, which is the inspiration of the soul, the yearning, the desire to increase, to progress. And then you have this concept called shuv, which is our ability to move away from that feeling of inspiration and to channel that energy down here within the world into a tangible result. There are some people that have developed this quality of inspiration, let's say in a relationship. They love romance, passion, they're writing poetry, but they're lacking shuv. They can't see that the other person needs a cup of tea. There are other people that are the opposite. They do a lot, they're Mr. Nice Guy, perfect husband, but inside they're lacking that passion, that romance, and so forth. Message is you have to develop the ratzoi, the run, and you also have to channel that into action. Now finally, let's speak about this in terms of Judaism. There are some people that have a tremendous run of the soul, a spiritual attack. They love to go on spiritual trips and they feel it. But if you look at what they do in their daily life, there are not too many actions. Other people, they're very observant, they're there on time, they go to the synagogue, they do everything right, but inside, the heart is dead. They're not inspired. Thank you for watching, for your time. If you like this, please forward it to your friends, family, anyone you think would be interested. And if you would like to sponsor a video or dedicate a video, please email me at the address below. I look forward to speaking with you next week.